Good evening, everybody. What's going on? My name's Louis Vuitton, and thank you for stopping by. Really quick, before we get into the stream itself, let me just briefly say g'day. My name's Louis Vuitton, and I'm an Australian streamer, left-wing progressive streamer who streams both for Americans and for Australians. Tonight, it's evening my time, so I'm streaming for the Australians. At least I hope I am, because I'm watching OBS and the frames are dropping, so we'll see how that goes. Fun times. Alright, we're off to a good start already. Anyway, I stream live on Twitch, stream on YouTube. We don't have any big left-wing streamers down here in Australia, so hey, help a guy out. Normally, when I go live, the frame rate works properly. It seems like there's a bit of a cursed topic because I tried to cover it the other night and had the same thing happen. Cool, very cool. That's alright. Anyway, hello. As I said, my name is Louis Vuitton. I have added this daily dono goal to get a pizza. I would love a pizza. Who is attacking Free Press? Well, hey, if you hang out, stick with us, you'll find out. Because I would really like a fucking pizza. However, given how the quality of the stream right now, yeah, we'll see about that. Alright, very cool, very cool. Worked fine this morning. Thank you, OBS. Thank you. Whoa, my name is on your shirt. Which one? This one? What, the Ramones or SS Orion? Oh! Ha! Yeah, true. I'm looking at the stream. Yeah, it looks like it. No, it's not actually the Ramones either. It's a trans joke. It's like Ramones, it's the hormones instead. So, as we go around, we've got estradio, spiractolone, and progesterone. You know, get it? It's a joke about trans hormones. And, you know, like, it's not a hate joke, alright? I'm very pro-trans. As you can probably tell by, like, all the other shit that I'm wearing, so yeah. Anyway. Hang on. Okay, so the frame rate seems to improve if I don't have OBS on the screen. Look, this is the thing, like, I've got a dono goal just for a pizza, but, like, ultimately, I need a new fucking computer. This computer can't run shit. So, but anyway, enough about my problems, alright? So, tonight's topic, as the title would suggest, is about the attack on freedom of speech and freedom of the press, which is currently ongoing against the Australian YouTuber, known as Friendlyjordies. Now, Friendlyjordies is one of the largest Australian YouTubers, at least when it comes to the entertainment/variety kind. There might be some makeup channel with like 2 million subscribers. The largest Australian political channel is, of course, Isaac Butterfield, but Friendlyjordies is up there. He has 500,000 subscribers, which is pretty substantial, especially for an Australian. It's very hard for Australians to break into the YouTube/streaming scene. So hey, like, on that note, help a guy out. Now, Friendlyjordies his content is a mix of variety entertainment, like making videos about stuff like what it's like to have woke parents, kind of thing. And when he's not doing that, he's making videos attacking the Conservative Party of Australia. You know, exposing corruption, exposing backroom deals, and politicians helping out their friends, that kind of stuff. So, while I'm not really a fan of his variety, like, entertainment content, that's just not the kind of thing I watch, he does do good work on the political side, because he takes the role of an independent journalist very seriously. An independent journalist like somebody like Tim Pool, who calls himself an independent journalist, doesn't have jack on Friendlyjordies. Friendlyjordies actually goes in, exposes corruption when he finds it, and uses his platform to do so. Now, there's a politician in Australia, the Deputy Premier of New South Wales. If you're not from Australia, a Premier is like the equivalent of a governor. So like the head of the state, the person who runs the state. Barilaro is not even the Premier, he's the Deputy Premier. He's a member of a Conservative Party who's allied with the main Conservative Party of Australia. Now, Barilaro has been up to some shady shit, allegedly. And Friendlyjordies has used the means at his disposal and his platform to investigate said alleged corruption and expose said alleged corruption. He's also used his platform to riff on the guy, making fun of his Italian heritage. I mean, both Friendlyjordies and John Barilaro are wogs, so I see nothing wrong with it. And if you can't make fun of the Italians, then who can you make fun of? It really is 1984. Or at least, well, here's the thing. It gets worse. It literally is 1984, because John Barilaro is suing Friendlyjordies for supposed defamation and vile and racist attacks. So, interesting. If you can't make fun of politicians, who can you make fun of? Now, here's the thing. Here's the thing about the actual defamation. There's so much to go over. So, John Barilaro does have the right to sue Friendlyjordies for defamation if he believes that he is spreading inaccurate or false truths about him. That said, I don't believe that politicians are above criticism. Politicians, daily receive not just criticisms about their policies or their actions as politicians, but attacks against their character. It's part of being a politician, and it's part of what you sign up for. Now, it's gone beyond the lawsuit, because just the other day, Friendlyjordies' producer, a guy by the name of Christo Lenka, was arrested on supposed stalking charges of John Barilaro. Now, it wasn't the police that arrested Christo. It was a counter-terrorism unit. A special unit that was set up after the Sydney Lint Cafe siege, if you remember from a few years back. The kind of people that go after people who are planning to set off a bomb in a city. The kind of people who, as the name would suggest, go after terrorists. This is a 21-year-old video producer for a YouTuber who shitposts. They're being sent in to arrest him. Now, I've pulled Friendlyjordies' video on Christo's arrest, and I've also pulled some other videos from some other public figures who are responding. People like me, who are YouTubers or streamers, people who have a much larger audience than I do. You can help out with that. And their views on this action. I believe, as do my colleagues, that this is an attack on the freedom of the press. However much any of the old world politicians that make up the Australian government don't like it, at the end of the day, Friendlyjordies is still a media figure, and as such, he deserves the same respect, rights, and protection that any major mainstream media companies are allowed, which both myself and some of the others will get into later. So let's take a look at the incident itself and what Jordan has to say about it. Let me get off OBS really quick before it starts to lag. So, here's a video from Jordan. We're going to watch the full thing. It's only 13 minutes long. I'm going to play it at normal... I might speed it up a bit. just because it's 30 minutes long. Played at 1.25. That's not too fast. So, let's learn about the incident.
For legal reasons, I have to keep this video as straight-laced as I possibly can. My name is Jordan Shanks, and I'm being sued by John Barilaro, the Deputy Premier of New South Wales. Up until recently, I've treated this legal problem with the levity it deserves, but in all honesty, every move I've made, no matter how ridiculous it appeared, has been both legal and considered. Unfortunately, the same cannot be said for the Deputy Premier, who has impulsively, maliciously escalated the situation at every turn, and in doing so, out-clowned the clown. I understood that the usual procedure for silencing dissent in a Western democracy is to outspend your opponent, legally or electorally. What I did not realise is that defence is quite literally paper thin. Australia does have its own secret police, and they get sent in very quickly, particularly when the skin is as thin as said paper. On the 4th of June, plainclothes armed officers stormed into my employee's home, violently assaulted his family, nearly killed his dog, pinned him to the ground, handcuffed him, and dragged him into an unmarked police car. If you're wondering if I've accidentally mixed up a story from Pinochet's Chile with a standard arrest in Australia, I did not. That's what his father thought, who stated at the moment of this incident, understandably panicked.
You can't do this in Australia.
Sorry?
You can't just take someone in Australia like out of their house.
He's
Apparently, you can.
right. You absolutely cannot. And yet they did. With unsettling arrogance, seeing as several cameras were filming what they could of the event. Imagine what they'd do if they weren't. Here's the footage.
No, I'm allowed to film it. No, I'm allowed to film it.
No, you're not. Because you're under arrest.
I'm allowed to film
Can
it.
you film this, Mum?
You can film it. That's
Okay.
okay. But you're not allowed to.
Yeah.
I'm not allowed to. No, Mum, you can take my. No, you can take my phone. No, take my phone. Take my phone. Don't be.
What the fuck? They're giving away evidence to try to run away with it. Yeah? Don't run off with evidence. Okay? Who are you doing this? You're going to win. Jesus Christ.
Film this.
What the fuck?
This is bizarre.
This is not Australia.
Yeah, it's marked data.
You hurt a 51-year-old woman. You knocked
I
me
tripped over.
You killed my dog.
I tripped
Who's
over.
old.
Okay?
No, you did not.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
pushed your way. You pushed
No,
me
no,
down.
you tripped over.
You
That's
assaulted
whatever it
me.
was.
You assaulted
Okay.
me. You
No, I
just
didn't.
assaulted me. I've got
did.
witnesses.
We told
I've
you to
got-
hand over the phone.
I have got witnesses.
You handed it to her. I tripped over you.
You pushed
That's what
me
happened.
down in my own home.
No, I didn't.
You
I
COVID
absolutely.
environment.
That's all.
If you do anything to my son, you will pay.
I'll just take this moment to remind everyone that Christo Lenka is a 21 producer of videos for a comedian who exposed alleged corruption of an elected official elected to represent the Australian people, which includes Jordan Shanks and Christo Lenka, and also made fun of his Italian heritage. And in response, the elected official has sent in a counter-terrorism unit to gaffle up said producer. Very cool and normal democracy, Australia.
You can't do this in Australia.
Sorry?
You can't just take someone in Australia like out of their house.
Make sure you don't lose it. That's all. I just want to make sure it's filmed.
I am.
On record.
I just got assaulted.
Yeah, I know.
So, who do I ring for that?
Because I go to the con, I walk past John Barilaro in a day, Mum. Because I go to the when I see a car behind. You don't want your son here today? You want to know?
No, I want to
You don't want to know?
legal representation. He went to university. He went into.
You might be wondering who this brave defender of corruption at the highest level is. He's from the Counter-Terrorism and Special Tactics Command Fixated Persons Unit, but let's just focus on this point. Christo was arrested by a counter-terrorism unit. This is not an attack on the police. These shadowy figures are not the police. They are the product of the powers the Coalition have handed this legalised goon squad to be their state-funded Praetorian Guard under the guise of protecting you from amorphous and ill-defined boogeymen. To give you an idea of how far-reaching and sinister this legislation is, the following accusation now warrants the unbridled force of this self-appointed extra-legal mafia.
You don't use son, do you, sir? You don't know?
No, I want to
You don't want to know?
legal representation. What, he went to university. He went into
I go to
school.
con.
Yeah.
He goes to school right there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
He was harassing the Deputy Premier at a state funeral.
We'll be getting into that slip-up later, but as you'll soon discover, it appears as if the unit was acting on false information. But for now, let's continue right from when he was arrested. According to Christo, the normal uniformed police were reasonable and professional. He felt bad that they had to process the claim on a Friday night, when they obviously had much more important matters to deal with than a tantrum. There was one officer who he did not place in that category. Unsurprisingly, it was the man who, after illegally bowling over Christo's arthritic mother, proceeded to repeatedly chastise Christo about cyberbullying. Sticks and stones, eh? Christo attempted to explain how our work is not cyberbullying, it's journalism. The cop, appearing unable to grasp the point, eventually piped down, possibly to reflect on how even he knew he had just broken the law on camera. Eventually, they've detained Christo for the absolute legal max amount of time they can without really sticking their necks out, and they released him on bail. He's been charged with 2 counts of stalk and intimidate, intending to cause fear or physical or mental harm. Let me explain exactly what Christo did to warrant this arrest. It starts the day before with people John Barilaro himself had paid, contacting Christo. They called him multiple times, demanding to know where I was. This was only after they stalked me at my own property without knocking. Remember this. This is important because this is people acting on the will of John Barilaro contacting me and my employee. Here is another phone call as proof.
Yeah, hi, my name's... Is that Christo?
Yeah. I just record all my phone calls just as a security measure. So yeah, what's up?
Sure. Look, I've got a document for Jordan. I think somebody rang you about it.
Yeah, he did. He just didn't give me his number. I think I just got a missed private number, and I was checking voicemails, but I didn't get one.
We eventually met up with the process servers as detailed here, but keep in mind, this was only thanks to people John Barilaro paid contacting my employee, Christo. When we got the lawsuit document, we realised it had a blatant mistruth in it. It stated the applicant John Barilaro's address incorrectly. The lawsuit could not continue unless this problem was rectified. The next day, Christo was in the city for a uni class he has regularly on most Fridays. To get there, he walks through the domain. He also had the lawsuit with him as he was photographing it to give to our potential lawyers. On the way back from his uni class, he noticed John Barilaro getting into a car. Now, as an employee of mine, he realised this was an auspicious opportunity to hand John back the error-laden document, giving John an opportunity to fix his mistake. He attempted to hand the document back, nothing more, nothing less. John ignored him, got in his car, and was driven off. An extremely innocuous interaction. Here's the full video.
Hey, John. Hey, John. I've got something for you. John, I've got a lawsuit. You're suing my boss. John.
That's one count. Doing his job. In case you're wondering what the second count is, it's when he accompanied me to visit John at the end of Bruz Eternal. He's now at risk of going to jail for 3 years because of that. And here are the bail conditions. He must not approach Bruz or contact him in any way unless contacting him through a lawyer. He cannot go within 200 metres of any place John Barilaro lives or any place where he works. He can't possess or share images or caricatures of the protected persons. On a side note, isn't this joke from an older video incredible with this new context that John Barilaro now actually is a protected person?
If I could pass a bill protecting myself as a cultural icon, I would. Gladys, can I be a protected species? Oh, for the last time, John, no. Oh, but Mies, you look so pretty today.
He can't comment on the personal appearance or
Yeah, like that's the kind of content that Jordan's produced, making fun of Bruz before. Bruz, of course, being John Barilaro. So yeah, we can't criticize politicians in Australia anymore. So they send counter-terrorism units after us.
Behaviour of the protected persons, and he can't participate in the publishing of content further harassing the victim. If Christo does any of that, jests about him, even dares speak his name, he goes to jail like it's the Dark Ages. So suffice to say, he has nothing to do with publishing the content of today. Christo's lawyer says these are the weirdest bail conditions he's ever seen in his entire career practicing law. And now here's the most insane part of this story. The arrest was done with absolutely no evidence. You know how I know that? Because the police haven't seen the footage I just showed you. When Christo was released, he was given a police statement of facts. Here it is. Unfortunately, though, it's not really a statement of facts because it appears that someone has lied in their statement to the police. On Friday, the 4th of June 2021, the victim was attending a funeral at St Mary's Cathedral on College Street, Sydney. About 12:30 p.m, the funeral had ended and the victim was returning to his vehicle parked nearby on Hospital Road. The accused was seen to follow the victim for about 200 metres before approaching the victim as he approached the waiting car. Here's the video. And it starts about exactly where Christo noticed John Barilaro. Does that look like he was following him for 200 metres? He couldn't have been, because that was the first Christo saw of John, seconds before the phone was recording. Furthermore, Christo was walking back to his own car in the opposite direction that John's vehicle was heading. How the hell could he follow John? So let's get a lie counter up. Was seen to be followed for 200 metres. That's lie one. Also, we're going to subpoena the CCTV footage from the area. The accused was filming using his mobile phone saying, "Deputy Premier, why are you suing my boss? And you're corrupt." Okay, let's play the video.
Hey, John. Hey, John. I've got something for you. John, I've got a lawsuit. You're suing my boss. John.
Pretty apparent Christo never specifically said, "Deputy Premier, why are you suing my boss?" And he didn't ever utter the phrase, "You're corrupt." 2 more lies on the counter, 3 all up. Let's keep going. The victim got into his car and the accused rounded the car, still filming, attempting to speak to the victim through the window of the car. Lie 4. In a police statement. Christo clearly didn't round the car. Lied about being seen. Lied about what Christo said. Lied about rounding the car. Lying in a police statement is a crime. Lying in a police statement to get a journalist arrested and his family beaten is worse. Someone's done it. Who do you think it was? Questions. I guess we'll have to wait to find out in court. The date's been said, but let me just say this. For John Barilaro's career, I certainly hope it was his driver. Can't wait to find out, though. You know who else can't wait to find out? Our lawyer. I guess now's a good time to announce who he is. Mark Davis from Xenophon Davis, Gold Walkley winning X4 Corners journalist and the lawyer for Afghan whistleblower hero David McBride. John's thrown the full force of a civil suit against me, and now he's, in my opinion, flaunting 100 years of Australian democratic norms to bring criminal charges against my employee. And Mark is going to represent both Christo and myself, and also take on the cops who assaulted his family. There's a link to donate to our legal fund in the description. Donate if you can, because this has gone from a legal spectacle that exposes the limits of free speech to exposing the confines of your civil liberties, which are a lot smaller than you thought. I will be putting the money from my Clive Palmer legal fund to this. Any money donated will be greatly appreciated, because think about this from our perspective. We can't go to the cops for help. We can't go to Parliament for help. All we have are the courts. And just to end this video, I have some questions. Who directed this arrest? Did David Elliott, the police minister, know about this? How do you expect me to continue engaging in your defamation lawsuit, John, when my employees who I pay to work on it get arrested for merely doing their jobs? Who in their right mind can let John continue to be Deputy Premier after this? It's time to turn the tables. Which of the Liberal and National MPs are going to distance themselves from John Barilaro? He needs to resign. This needs to be referred to ICAC. This is the end of the line for John, because if it's not, New South Wales goes from state to police state.
Wow. Right on the money. So, there you have it. That's what's happening in Australia. And before I talk about the Friendlyjordies incident, I want to talk about the fact that this is not the first time something like this has happened. Earlier this year, just a few months ago, in fact, the government attempted to attack free speech and the freedom of the press and the independency of the media. Now, I actually covered it on stream at the time. If you're not from Australia, this is going to sound a little bit crazy. However, the government passed a bill putting into law basically, not exactly a gag, not a gag on Facebook, but attempting to exercise government authority over the platform. The government signed into law that Facebook had to pay media companies so that they could post on Facebook. Facebook had to pay its users so that they could use its own platform. There's no company that I'll just say, like, the bill was they got rid of it because in response to this, Facebook said, "Oh, fine, there's no media content on the platform." So there was briefly a period where there was no media content whatsoever on the platform, because what's Facebook supposed to do? Bow to the government's control? There's no company that is policed like that. There's no media company that has those same rules and the same standard as Facebook. I'll also say, which Jordan didn't mention in his video, not only is John Barilaro suing Friendlyjordies, he's also suing Google for not taking down the Bruz video that Jordan made about him. He's suing Google. And just like in the Facebook media ban incident, right now, nobody is talking about this event. Nobody's talking about the lawsuit against Friendlyjordies. Nobody in Parliament. Oh! What was that? Hang on. Was that a follow? I missed it. I wasn't watching OBS. Hey! Tribal Exterminated. Thanks for following. I hope you're enjoying the stream. Also, I'll just take this opportunity to remind everybody that we have a daily dono goal. Buy me a pizza. Really appreciate it. The dono link is down below, but I'll just paste it there in case anyone's feeling generous. Anyway, where the fuck was I? Like, nobody in the Australian Parliament or in the Australian media is treating this attack on the freedom of the press with the brevity that it deserves. Our media and our government is run by dinosaurs. They don't realize how media has changed. Oh! Assimilate or flee. Thank you for following. Are you guys part of a... Oh, you're like SS like Orion was as well. Are you guys... Is this like part of a stream or like part of a clan or something? Anyway. Friendlyjordies is an independent media figure. And as I said at the start of this, he deserves the same rights and protection that any media figure enjoys. He deserves those same rights. If we had a journalist from another media company who was being slapped by a lawsuit for freedom of speech, then like we would not be hearing the end of it. Hang on, I'm going to wait till my phone catches up because I missed it on OBS as well. Cucumber is full. I'm enjoying this stream. Oh, thank you. I'm glad to hear it. I'm just like, I'm not guys, I'm not like casting any aspersions, but like SS doesn't stand for Stormtrooper, right? Right? Come on. I hope not. I'm like, I don't want to throw any accusations, but like, I'm just saying. Anyway, that's my views, and I have more to say on this topic anyway. But first, I want to spotlight some of the other voices that have been speaking up on this topic, and thank them so much. Steamship. Okay, I'll take your word for it. In good faith. So, first up, we have somebody I absolutely detest, Isaac Butterfield. First of all, respect the leader. Thank you for the follow. Welcome. We're covering attacks on freedom of speech and freedom of the press, which the mainstream media doesn't seem to care about. Curious. So, as I said, somebody that I absolutely detest, Isaac Butterfield, the largest political YouTuber in Australia, 1.6 million subscribers. Not a fan. He puts out some content which I'm really not that keen on. However, when it comes to this, he is right on the money. Sorry. There we go. Isaac Butterfield is speaking out in protest against the lawsuit. Oh! Wait, let me get rid of it. Massacre. Thank you. Thank you for the follow. Oh, hang on. Let me fix up. Let me fix that up so that it's not cut off. There we go. Let me briefly do that. Okay, it's all good. Anywho, Isaac Butterfield, not a fan. However, when it comes to this topic, he is absolutely right on the money. He is using his platform, large platform, to speak up about the treatment that not only Friendlyjordies has suffered, but also his lawyer, Christo, being arrested by a counter-terrorism unit for poking fun the second-in-command of a state. Okay. Now, I'm not going to play the full clip. I'm just going to play an excerpt. It's the same for all the other ones I've pulled. So I'm going to play it at normal speed. Let's hear what Isaac Butterfield has got to say on the subject. But first, rob the colonies? Guys, when I asked before, does SS stand for Stormtrooper? Look, like, I don't, like, there better not be an imposter among us, alright? Acting a little sus. Anyway, let's hear what Isaac has to say on the topic.
Now, I don't believe that this has anything to do with Russ, because he loves suing people for defamation, so I'm definitely not going to suggest that at all. But if it hypothetically did, that is a severe abuse of power. You are acting like that.
Oh. Okay, alright. That was one too many. Sorry, guys. Jesus Christ. I'm going to cut this out when I upload it as a segment. Cool. Very cool. Stream brigaded by Nazis. Fun. For anyone that's not clear, SS is like the SS in the Nazi, the Schutzstaffel. Like, you know, the brown shirts, the elites. That's why I was suspicious. And when they come in with names like SS underscore rob the colonies. This isn't just some like hyper lefty, like everyone who disagrees with me is a Nazi. No, come on. When they're running around with names like Tribal Exterminator and rob the colonies and sack native towns, preceded by SS. That's the thing about like a brief aside before we get back to the actual video. That's the thing about Nazis is that they can't help but tell someone. They can't keep it to themselves. They have to let someone know. Anyway. Fuck me. Okay, let's rewind this video a little bit. Start the segment over again.
John.
Now, I don't believe that this has anything to do with Russ, because he loves suing people for defamation, so I'm definitely not going to suggest that at all. But if it hypothetically did, that is a severe abuse of power. You are acting like... No, let me rephrase that. Hypothetically, that is acting like the Gestapo in the Nazi regime. Arresting people...
How prescient. How apropos.
who you don't agree with, or don't agree with you. Controlling the media. This is not the situation now, but it's the situation we could face if shit like this doesn't get called out. I'm not saying that Barilaro's some crazy Gestapo dude. No. But it's a domino effect. And if we don't do anything now, then who knows where we could be in 10, 20 years. And the media didn't do anything about it, and that pisses me off. And Geordie's beloved Labor Party are fucking pretty quiet about the whole thing, and that pisses me off as well. Whether you hate Geordie's or you love him, or whether you hate me or you love me, I'm sure you love him. He's a great guy. Nice beard. We have a moment right now where we can fight for free speech, and that's what I think we should be doing. We should be supporting Friendlyjordies, because what he is doing is freedom of speech. He is finding injustices in the world, and he is fighting for them. Being tackled and taken to the ground just because someone doesn't agree with you is not free speech. After my time watching the video and on the loo finished, I washed my hands, of course, everyone fucking calm down, and I sent the link to one of Geordie's biggest supporters, my old man. And he replied with a German poem written after World War II about cowardice. And I think this is very, very important to understand now. And it really does comment on the situation that could arise from occasions like what we just saw. First they came for the communists and I did not speak out because I was not a communist. Then they came for the socialists and I didn't speak out because I was not a socialist. They then came for the trade unionists. I didn't speak out because I wasn't a trade unionist. They then came for the Jews and I didn't speak out because I'm not a Jew. Then they came for me. And no one was left to speak out for me. Ladies and gentlemen, right now we have a moment in time where we can fight for freedom of speech in this country, and the Friendlyjordies legal fund link is down below. Go and get behind him. Be a good motherfucker. Peace. The Middle East. Me dick sticks. Too low. Bye.
I get chills whenever I hear that that little poem, because hey, like, as a socialist myself, I know who's first to go. Now, like I've said, I don't like Isaac Butterfield. I don't agree with what he says. However, right here, in this instance, he is bang on the money. He's absolutely right. This is an attack on the media. This is an attack on freedom of speech and freedom of press. But, as he's pointed out, the media doesn't care. Politicians on both sides don't care. Broadly speaking, there's been some individual Labour members who have spoken out against the treatment of Friendlyjordies and the arrest of Christo. But the party itself, using its platform, has not called for the dismissal of John Barilaro, or has not at least condemned his actions, because as we saw in the video done by Jordan, somebody's giving these orders that the police didn't know about. I wonder who that could be. But we've got more. We've got other people, because I wanted to get a broad selection. So, before we move on, I'll just briefly take the time. If you're enjoying the stream, let's try that again. If you're enjoying the stream so far, it would mean a lot if you would contribute an amount, however small, to the Daily Dono Fund to buy me a pizza. I love pizza. I haven't had one in a week and a half, probably more. Maybe. I think. And fuck me, it's not a big ask. So hey, if you've got some extra bucks lying around, send them my way. Next up on the roster, we will be hearing from a man with personal experience from government overreach, attacking his freedom of speech, Count Dankula. Another person who I'm not a fan of. I don't like Count Dankula. However, in this instant, like Isaac, he is right on the money. And I should also say that no matter how much I don't like Count Dankula, the charge of being grossly offensive against him was utter bullshit. Utter crap. Nonsense. As Biden would say, malarkey. And again, just an excerpt from him about what he's got to say on the topic.
I mean, this is every politician's wet dream, like, to be able to use the police to go after people that criticise and make fun of them. So every politician's wet dream. I mean, this is the ultimate. This is the final station, the end of the line in this journey of hate crime laws that we're going down. And it's the intended destination where you're not allowed to make fun of or criticise people in government. And you know, I've only sort of read the gist of what Barilaro's done, and yeah, he deserves it. Yeah.
Son of a bitch. All right, let's get back to it.
He deserves all this. Everybody making fun of him and roasting him and dunking on him and all that stuff. But arresting comedians and stuff for making jokes about you and pranking you and stuff like that, nah, absolute scumbag. Complete bloody scumbag. Aye. Australia has been a wee bit dodgy for quite a wee while. It has. But, you know, these guys should be immediately released and have these charges dropped. Like, the Luigi thing, I mean, gee, I felt threatened. I felt threatened for my life. I felt threatened for my life. He came up to me dressed as Luigi. Listen. It's like blatantly a prank. It's blatantly a prank, right? It came up to you dressed as Luigi. Like, if they came up to you dressed as all the Mario characters going like that, Wahoo! Wah! I don't know that shit. Oh my god, please! Oh, so weak. Jesus Christ. But yeah, like more's going to be coming out about this as the story unfolds, and you know, even though Friendlyjordies obviously doesn't like me very much, he has freedom of speech just like everyone else, especially when it comes to making fun of politicians. Especially when it comes to making fun of politicians. That's I would argue that's probably the most important part of freedom of speech. Making fun of politicians. And I'm watching all of this and I am just praying that Humza Yusuf does not get the same idea. Given the way Humza Yusuf is, I am amazed that Humza Yusuf hasn't had me arrested yet over some nonsense bullshit. Although maybe it's because he lost his job as Justice Minister and he's now the Health Minister. I wonder why he lost his job as Justice Minister. It must have had nothing to do with the fact that he passed a law that made Scotland the most authoritarian part of the UK, second only to Belarus. Maybe it had something to do with that. Who knows? But I'm happy he's not Justice Minister anymore, because then it'll be a lot harder for him to get me arrested for making fun of him and his absolutely awful, diabolical and authoritarian political career. But in this instance, like, being arrested for making fun of politicians, that is terrifying. It is terrifying. Like, making fun of politicians. I can say this with all certainty of it being true, even though I've not looked into it. Everyone makes fun of politicians. Everyone, every single person, everybody watching this video right now, you make fun of politicians. Everybody does. And it's fun, and it's brilliant, and it's great, and it's part of freedom of speech, and it should be protected at all costs. Release my guys, drop the charges. This is bullshit.
True. So, two things about that what Count Dankula touched on. I said two things and I've forgotten both of them. Oh, okay. So, first of all, the ability to criticize not only politicians, but the government, your country, everything is supposedly a cornerstone of freedom of speech. I see people on the right who don't like when people use their freedom of speech to criticize their own country. Criticizing your own country is the most patriotic thing you can do, utilizing your freedom of speech. Burning your country's flag is the most pure expression of freedom of speech. You have been endowed by these rights, endowed with these rights by the government. So there is no greater expression than using that freedom of speech to say, fuck you. I can't remember what the other thing was, but Dankula's right about the government overreach, attacking freedom of speech. As I talked earlier about the Facebook media ban. Yeah. It's a load of bullshit, and he's got personal experience with it. And we see countries like Australia, like the UK, like America, backsliding to... not backsliding, but sliding towards far-right authoritarian positions. When you have people like Trump in office, people like Duterte and Bolsonaro and Lukashenko, and to a greater extent, Morrison in Australia and Johnson in the UK, and like a bunch of other countries, Poland, Hungary, Russia, of course, you know, Japan a little bit, China. And here's the thing. There's no big voices who are not independent who are defending Jordan. They're silent. They like it. The Australian media likes that he's being attacked because they don't see him as an equal. They see him as a threat. Let's move on. This is another Australian YouTuber by the name of Lewis Spears, another man who Kel Surprise I don't like. But again, in this instance, he is right on the money. Funny that. Funny how all these independent public figures, media figures, comedians and YouTubers, they're very capable of coming out and supporting a colleague. Wow, what do you know? And as Isaac said, whether or not you agree with him, if you believe in free speech, then you better stand up for his. And Lewis is going to talk a bit about that as well. See, I'm the second most famous Lewis when it comes to Australian YouTube. Oh, shite. Oh, thank Christ. Okay, I thought it was another Nazi. Fatboy Troy, thank you so much for following. Excuse the Nazi thing. I was brigaded by Nazis before and I had to ban... they all followed and I had to ban a bunch of them. Well, ban all of them, obviously. But thank you for following. I hope you enjoy the stream. If you're just arriving here, we have a daily dono goal to buy me a pizza, if you're feeling generous. Don't, as it says, look, just $17, and that can... Just $17 and you could feed a hungry redhead. Anyway, let's hear what Lewis Spears has to say on the topic. Again, an excerpt played at normal speed.
Now, whatever you think of Friendlyjordies, it's undeniable that what he does is journalism. Whether you agree with his takes or not, that's not a prerequisite to being a journalist. Lord knows if being right was a prerequisite to becoming a journalist, there wouldn't be any of them fucking left, would there? John Barilaro feels he can do this to an independent journalist just because they aren't in the pocket of a giant global mega corporation that, let's be honest, are very pro John Barilaro. Whether you lean left or right, you like Friendlyjordies or dislike him, this is undeniably wrong. A journalist being arrested for asking a public figure, a politician, questions about a story that is already in the news is leading to them getting arrested by an anti-terrorism police force, allegedly under instruction from John Barilaro himself. Whether you're a liberal or a national voter, left, right, whatever, what John Barilaro has done is incredibly scary, and it's an attack on freedom of speech and the right of press to discuss and talk about politicians and to politicians. I mean, how many times has a current affair run up to a guy on Centrelink and done this very thing and not gotten in trouble for it? Apparently, you're allowed to do that to a Centrelink cheat who's just trying to feed his kids, but you can't do it to a multi-millionaire politician. This charge, this case, if it sticks, if Christo loses this, he could go to prison for 3 years. And if that happens, it sets a precedent. This will affect every journalist in the country's ability to ask politicians to their faces questions about stories that are in the public's interest. If Christo goes to prison, shows like The Chaser could never happen again. This is the type of sketch they would regularly do. Is it fine just because they work for the ABC, a big company? Can only journalists who work for giant corporations, who, let's be honest, are often compromised, only do this type of journalism? Are independents at risk of being arrested for asking politicians questions just because they don't have enough money to buy into the system and receive unwritten immunity? This action by the police, by John Barilaro and the entire system, I think is absolutely disgusting. And I had to make this video. I understand it's not very funny, it's not the most entertaining thing that I've done, but I think it is one of the most important videos that I have done this year, because this is an assault on free speech and independent journalism. Like I said before, whatever you think of the guy and his takes, whatever way you vote, left, right, whatever, this is an explicit attack on journalism, and we should all stand against it. And to the politicians of this country, if you are watching this and letting this happen, you are complicit. This type of behavior from a politician against a journalist, regardless of what they say, should be condemned. There was no violent intent with this. There's been no harassment, no stalking. This is a journalist doing their job. Whether or not you agree with what they are saying is irrelevant. You should not let your fellow colleagues treat the power they have like this and wield it against citizens and independent journalists. It's disgusting, and you should not stand for it. If you don't condemn it, you're a coward. As I said, this is still a developing story, so I will keep you guys updated. I really encourage you to check.
And that's enough. Wow. One after the other, banger after banger after banger. All these blokes, then again, I don't like their politics, don't much care for their content, but here they all are, right on the fucking money. Lewis is exactly right about the precedent that this sets. And like I was just saying before, it is disgusting that nobody is coming to Jordan's defense. Nobody in a position of power sees this for what it is, an attack on freedom of speech and an attack on freedom of press. In case you weren't aware, more than two-thirds, no, more, over 90% of the media in Australia is owned by two companies, and two-thirds of that is owned by News Corp. The other third is owned by Nine Entertainment. Two companies own more than 90% of Australia's media. These people see Jordan as a threat. They see him for what he is, an independent figure who does not have any financial obligations to any stakeholders other than himself, the people who he employs, and his fans. They see him doing his job and actually reporting on events that they don't report on because at the end of the day, the politicians and the old media figures are all in each other's pockets. What Lewis talks about when it comes to this precedent is 100% true. We are seeing the government refuse to stand up for independent media figures. Let me give you another extreme example. Avi Yemeni, you know him? You might not know him if you're from Australia. Have you heard of Rebel News? Rebel News is a media company that's, I believe, founded in Canada by Ezra Levant. It has employed people in the past, like Tommy Robinson, for you UK viewers, Lauren Southern, whose name I'm sure you all know, the Nazi who propagated the Great Replacement conspiracy theory, which puts forth that the Jews are orchestrating a mass immigration to white countries to breed out the white population. She previously worked for Rebel News. Avi Yemeni currently works for them. Oh, alongside Ian Miles Chong, he works for Rebel News as well. Now, Avi Yemeni was illegally arrested at an anti-lockdown protest last year when he had permission from the government to report as a journalist. Despite having permission, he was arrested by Victoria Police. Avi Yemeni is a reprehensible human being. He is a fascist who spreads conspiracy theories and pals around with Nazis. But when it came to the government and the police cracking down on his right to act as a journalist, however much I may dispute that title, when it came to his right to act as a media figure, I signed his petition. Because I believe that Avi Yemeni, however our differences, if he's acting as a media figure within the confines of the law, that he deserves the same rights and respect that any media figure does, regardless of whether they're not, as Lewis said, in the hands of some giant media conglomerate. As you can probably tell, I'm quite passionate about this issue. I'm very pro freedom of speech. I'm very anti-government authority, government overreach, and government tyranny. And what we are seeing here, whether you want to admit it or not, is a developed, modern democracy that is standing by attacks on the freedom of speech and the freedom of press of its own citizens. We have one more video to look at tonight. Unlike the others that have come before it, this is actually somebody that I do like. All the way from America. It's our boy! Our boy. Is it Vosh Vidya? All the way from the west coast of America. Now, y'all, like Americans, like, never comment on Australia, like, going-ons in Australia. Never. And for somebody like Vosh to look at this story, that's good. It's real good. Let's hear what he's got to say on the topic. Because as a YouTuber, I'm sure he's, not so keen on it. Again, another excerpt. Take it away, Vosh.
Listen. When you're at a point now, Barilaro, by the way, the deputy premier we're talking about, is a governor adhering to the Liberal Party in Australia, which is actually their Conservative Party.
Yes, that's true. Don't ask, all right?
Mr. Barilaro here has engaged in the time-honored behavior of authoritarians in acting on this now. So not only do we have a...
I'm sorry, I don't want to get, too distracted, but, the chat's spamming libs. We don't mean liberals lowercase l, we mean liberals uppercase L, our Conservative Party. We're not, Australia is not so far left that our Conservative Party is a Liberal Party. No. They named themselves the Liberal Party so they wouldn't seem as conservative. Guess what? They are.
Completely baseless lawsuit, essentially designed to intimidate and bankrupt Friendlyjordies. We also now have police violence being used baselessly against his cohorts in an effort to silence them and disrupt their efforts to fight the defamation lawsuit. This is legitimately terrifying. I understand, by the way, that this seems abstract. Since we're talking about Australia, I might as well be talking about the Dementors and the what are the wizard police called? What did Harry Potter become at the end? What was the Auroras? Yeah, the Auroras and the Dementors, right? Yeah, I might as well be. But let me imagine we're talking here, and I'm being serious. This is literally the equivalent of what we're talking about here. Imagine if I made a series of videos making fun of an American politician who then subsequently sued me for defamation, a legal claim which would take tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars to fight back against in court, and would restrict my activities legally for quite some time. And then shortly afterwards, one of my editors had their house barged into and arrested on trumped-up charges before being carried away in an unmarked van. Can you understand how terrifying this is? Can you understand how destructive this is to democracy? Friendlyjordies wasn't just targeted because he's a comedian who made fun of this guy, by the way. He's being targeted because he actually engages in a fair amount of investigative journalism, exposing the corruption of, among other people, Barilaro, the deputy who is coming after him now. This is plain and simple attack on democracy, and I don't know if Australians have a democracy. I'm not sure if it's a monarchy over there. I don't know if it's feudal. I legitimately don't know what's happening over there, but I do like democracy, and I do like freedom of speech, and I do like, well, I do like the ability to be a YouTuber and not be legally menaced by the elected representatives who lord over you. So, to put all this into summary, I'm not entirely sure where Friendlyjordies stands politically. I legitimately don't know. I wish I could speak positively to some sort of broader set of opinions. The fact that Friendlyjordies used Chile's Pinochet regime as an example of authoritarianism rather than, say, Stalin suggests to me that he might be rather left-wing. I really couldn't say. All I know is that what's happening to him is absolutely terrifying, and that I sincerely hope that whatever he's going through right now, it works out. I hope that not only is he able to fight off that lawsuit, and not only is his producer able to fight off those criminal charges, I also hope that John Barilaro is able to, I suppose, finally embrace his ethnic identity and fly either over to Jersey or back to Italy and to resume his, God-given missive of, what do? You roll out the spaghetti like this? Yeah, like that. You do a little spaghetti wiggle,
All right. That's enough. It was a good one to finish on because I needed a laugh after that. I'm very revved up right now. I'm feeling quite passionate, feeling pretty, pretty impassioned about this because, as I've said, time and time again, in just the short amount of time I've been streaming, Friendlyjordies is a media figure, whether you like it or not. Friendlyjordies is well within his rights to act as a media figure, even if he's not associated with one of these larger, giant companies that control the majority, or at least a large portion, of Australia's media. I will remind you, over 90% of Australia's media is owned by 2 companies. 60% of that is News Corp, of course owned by Rupert Murdoch, whose name I'm sure you know. And the other third is owned by Nine Entertainment. And these people don't like the fact that they can't compete with new online media. They hate that online media outcompetes them. These people are still stuck in the days of paper newspapers. That's why we saw the attack on Facebook, where the government wanted to regulate Facebook, an extent of government overreach beyond the pale. This isn't just like putting regulations on a company that's like, okay, you have to stop dumping toxic waste in this city's water supply. No, this is, you will post what we give you permission to post, and only after you pay that media company to use your website. And who do you think was behind such a law? What do you think the motivation for that was? I wonder if it could have been members of one of those giant corporations that collectively own over 90% of Australia's media. I want, like, who stands to gain from attacking online media? Curious. Friendlyjordies is no different. Friendlyjordies, his situation is not being treated seriously. And I am tired of the dinosaurs in the Australian government and the Australian media not treating this situation with the gravity that it demands. I am tired of these people not giving the same respect and acknowledging the rights that independent media figures have. This old guard fears new online media, so they stand back and do nothing as we see this attack on our citizens' freedom of speech and freedom of press. It is a disgusting overreach of government power, and nobody is talking about it! No one, no major politicians, no major media company is framing Friendlyjordies as the victim and John Barilaro as the criminal that he is! Regardless of John Barilaro's allegations of corruption beforehand, sending in the goon squad to arrest Geordie's producer looks real fucking guilty to me, mate. If you weren't corrupt before, you sure as fuck are now. How does it look to the Australian public when they see what happens to those that criticise you? How does it look to the Australian public knowing what their government is capable of? Sending counter-terrorism units in to arrest a 21-year-old for making fun of you on the internet. Grow the fuck up! And I say that not just to John Barilaro, but to the entire Australian government, to the entire Australian Parliament, both parties, all parties, and to the Australian people themselves. Will you tolerate this? Will you tolerate this abuse of government power and these attacks on this private citizen's rights? And I have just one last thing to say to John Barilaro himself. You have nothing to fear if you have nothing to hide. As I said, quite passionate. So, that is the situation with Friendlyjordies. Just a quick recap if you weren't here from the start. Friendlyjordies is an Australian YouTuber who creates a mix of variety entertainment and political content. He has over 500,000 subscribers on YouTube, which is fairly substantial for an Australian YouTuber, especially one who creates his kind of content. Friendlyjordies has criticised a Australian politician, John Barilaro, the Deputy Premier of New South Wales, that's like second in command of the state. He has criticised him, made fun of his Italian heritage, and also brought forth evidence of alleged corruption. In response, John Barilaro sued him for defamation. And just recently, as we saw in the video, Jordan's producer, a man by the name of Christo Linker, I think, was arrested after he attempted to pass legal documents to John Barilaro. He wasn't arrested by the police, he was arrested by a counter-terrorism unit. So, I would also, I'm thinking I'm going to end the stream soon because this is what I wanted to cover. Thank you all for coming. Kind of disappointed that we didn't get any contributions to the pizza goal. Hey, like, come on, how often do you get such an impassioned speech, guys? I think it's worth chucking a couple of bucks my way so I can buy a pizza. But before I finish up, I would like to thank each of the people that I know there's been other YouTubers that have spoken out against this. I haven't obviously seen everyone. A YouTuber by the name of Logic Reflux did a great short video on the media's reaction to the arrest of Christo. I didn't pull it because I was more about they were talking more about the media than like the political implications, which is what I wanted to talk about. They've talked about it. Another Australian YouTuber whose name escapes me, fairly big, I think 120,000 subscribers, has talked about it as well. But I would like to thank Vosh for speaking up about it, coming all the way from America. Thank you, absolutely, mate. I would also, of course, like to thank Lewis Spears, Count Dankula. Yeah, let me put on the camera. There we go. Count Dankula and Isaac Butterfield, who, as I've stated, I don't like these three people. Well, like Vosh, obviously. However, oh, that's not him.
And, you know,
there he is. Yeah, I don't like these three people, but these people recognise this for what it is, blatant government corruption. And I would like to thank them for using their platform to speak up about it.
But
So yeah.
comedians and stuff are making jokes about you and pranking you and stuff like that. Nah, absolute scumbag.
Unless anyone's got any hot takes to throw out, I'm thinking about finishing up soon.
Australia has been a wee bit dodgy for quite a wee
Or,
but you know, these guys should be immediately released and have these
anyway,
dropped. Like,
thank you all for watching. My name is Louis
Luigi.
Vuitton. If you like the content,
I felt threatened for my life.
please drop me a follow. Go over to YouTube and follow me on, subscribe to me on YouTube. I do prepared content over on my YouTube channel. Where I also stream on YouTube, but I use Twitch mainly for the streaming. But the prepared content's pretty good.
Oh my God,
I'm going to be posting more of that in the next coming weeks. So I've had a bit of a break because I've been super busy with university.
Yeah, like,
you can also follow me on Twitter, join the Discord through the link down below, and I've just dropped the link again in the chat. It would mean a lot if you chuck a few bucks my way. I haven't worked in about This will be the fourth week because of a small lockdown, and my boss doesn't get JobKeeper, so
I would argue that's
things are a
probably the most
little
important
tight
part
right
of
now.
speech.
And a
Making
little
fun of
tight as in
politicians, and I'm watching
it's
all
Monday
of this,
now.
and
I won't have any. I won't have any money
Hamza
until
Yusuf does not
Friday.
get the same idea.
Hey,
Given the way Hamza Yusuf
regardless,
is, I am
the very least you can do
amazed
is chuck me a follow or a
Hamza
subscription.
Yusuf hasn't had me
I love you all very
over
much.
some
Thank you all for
nonsense
coming.
bullshit.
If you are in Australia, or even if you're not in Australia, if you have the capacity, then not just in Jordan's case,
I wonder why he
but
lost his
in
job.
any
Justice
injustice that
Minister.
you
It must have
see,
had nothing to do with the fact
speak
that
up
he
against
passed
it.
a law that made Scotland the most
Because
authoritarian part of
it is
the
up to
UK,
us
second only to Belarus.
to protect the rights of others.
Maybe it
Protecting
has
the rights of
something to do
others
with that. Who
protects
knows?
our
But I'm happy
rights.
he's not Justice Minister anymore, because
As
it would be a lot harder
Isaac
for
quoted
him to
earlier,
be arrested for,
first they came
making
for the
fun of him and
communists.
his absolutely awful
I did not speak up,
diabolical and
for I was not a
authoritarian
communist.
But in
Next
this
they came for the
instance, like,
socialists, but I did not speak up,
being arrested
for I was no
for
socialist.
politicians, that is terrifying.
And they came for
That
the
is
trade
terrifying.
unionists.
Like,
I didn't speak up,
making fun of
for I
politicians,
was no trade unionist. And then they came for the Jews. I didn't speak up, for I was no Jew. Then they came for me,
Everyone makes fun of
and no one was left to speak out for me.
Everyone, every single person, everybody watching this
It's
video
happened
right now,
before.
make fun of politics.
It could happen again.
Everybody does.
And it's happening
And it's fun, and it's
now.
brilliant, and it's great, and it's part of freedom of speech, and it should be protected at all
So
costs.
stay safe.
Release my guys.
Love you all very
drop
much.
the charges. This is
Take it easy, and thanks for watching. Oh, fuck me, I've been muted this whole time. My mouse is frozen, so I can't close it. I'm going to have to shut down the computer. Thank you all very much. You can help fix this by donating to the stream so I can buy a decent computer. I love you all very much. Please stay safe. And speak out against injustice.